You guys have all heard the song, "She's just a 3 dressed up like a 9. It's only wasting my time." I might have had that with my VW Beetle. I'm starting to tear into it and trying to find all the rust. And it's a little bit of a case of, boy, it was pretty. It was a nice new paint job on the outside. And I cleaned up some of the rust. It was looking pretty good. And then I started taking my grinding wheel and removing some of the panels. And the more I dug in, the more rust I found. And this is just the beginning of it. It's sort of like surgery, but yeah, it was a 3 dressed up like a 9, but I'm still pretty happy with it. And there is fun in enjoying the journey. I've had a lot of pleasure out of it so far, but some of the stages were a little bit of a challenge. So I'm trusting you to have a look at it. And again, as always, subscribe, like it, put a comment down. My last video, it wouldn't let anybody comment, which I'm probably happy about because who knows what you would have said. But yeah, put it down. Also, I'm going to get some vanity plates for it, so I would like to have a name for it. So if you can come up with a name, and I'd love to say this is a random, completely whatever you say, I'm going to go with. It's not true. If you have a great name, it's better than the name I'm thinking of, I'll go with it. And you know what? There's probably something in it for you. I'll come up with some creative thing for you. So if you could just put in the comments a name that you'd like to name this little beetle. You know what? Every good project needs a good name. And I'm thinking maybe it'll appreciate a good name. So put that in the comments. I appreciate that. So anyway, here we are. It's starting to dig in. I'm digging out the grinder. It's the big guns. Oh yeah, got to have the big tools now. So get in there, dig in, and see where we're at. Thanks for watching. Hi guys, I've been working away at my Beetle. I haven't been doing enough videos lately, but I'm going to pick that up a little bit now. I have had it out running. I'll have some videos up about that. Went with my wife to a drive-in theater with it, and that was a whole lot of fun. And it runs real well. It'll do about 65 miles an hour, or roughly 105 kilometers an hour down the highway, relatively comfortable. And so now I'm starting to work on the body. I had to take the running board off, and that went relatively well. The bolts were rusted right on. There's a bolt that went right through the hole there, and another one through the front fender. And I want to show you something. See these two little washers? They're relatively close together, and I just ground them off, and they were right hot. And I don't know if you can see, both of them were side by side. You can see the big washer and the small washer. Big washer, small washer. Yep, I branded myself. Just a running board. Now, please appreciate that, some of the running boards you could step on and get in and out of a vehicle. This is not one of them. This was the entire running board. It's relatively rusty on the inside. I think I'm going to sandblast that and do a paint job on it. And there's the bolt holes. And I can just easily put another bolt through that. That's not a problem. You can see a little bit of rust there. I think I'm going to get some, you see some... You can see where it cracked right there, and it's relatively flimsy. If you look at it, it's kind of got a few wobbles in it and a few dents, but I think I can tune that up relatively well. I'll clean that up with a little bit of sandblasting, and I have some 1-inch square tubing. I think I'm going to take and out of 1-inch square tubing, just make a frame that'll go down there and attach right above here, and that's where the jack point is. And I have to turn the jack point around a little bit, but it got hit. Something hit it really hard this way and pushed it back. I'm going to hook it up so the 1-inch square tubing attaches right around here and up front here where it had bubbled out here. And so I took my mighty hammer, just a tiny little thing, and I just give her a few whacks right there, and the whole piece just dropped out, and you can see just how rusted it is behind there. So I've ordered a replacement panel that'll go roughly up to about here, all the way through the back and down. This whole section here will be replaced. So I'm right now, if you can see, I'm cutting out rust. And I saw that little bit of rust here, and I've cut it out a bit, and I'll show you some of the stuff I'm doing with that. But underneath, they had this wonderful aluminum strip on here, and it looks really sharp and looked like it was riveted in and all that. And I'm just telling you right now, those are fake. And if you remove this, I'm going to try to find some of the pieces of rust. There's all this rust that was right in there, and it had rusted, and it had left quite a hole in along there. So I took my grinder, a handy dandy grinder, and I ground all the way along there, and then also all the way along here. And I cleaned that section out, and I used a product, Rust Cure, and it's rust proofing, and I sprayed that in all the way along here, and you'll notice that it's kind of almost left a residue there. And I'm wondering if, and I hope that was wise. I do need to weld all the way along here. I need to weld all the way along here and all the way along here yet. And I'm just really hoping that I don't set this on fire. I do have my fire extinguisher, a rag, and a bucket of water. And by and large, that'll put out almost any fire. It'll put out an awful lot of fires because it'll mostly smother it. So right now, what I'm trying to do is cut that little bit of rust out of there. And so I'm just going to set this up and see how it goes. Because the grinder is way too big to fit in there, and I'd run it over here, I have chosen to attack that section with my Dremel. It's a good thing I have a lot of these little discs because they melt like butter in this. But let's see how this goes. See, I told you they do melt like butter. I'm going to try the big grinder on that for right now. Well, I haven't been able to get in there very well with that, with the Dremel. So I took and I cut it off across here using a bigger grinder. And I was just going to try to get a little bit more into here and see how that goes. Well, I've done some more cutting and grinding, as you can see. I got that ground through there. And so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to be replacing, this is all going to get replaced. This is all getting replaced. And also a bunch of, this all the way up here is getting replaced. So I do have a bit of a grind mark there, but I'm okay with that. This will all be replaced all the way into here by the new panel I get. I just hope I don't have to lose my Made in Canada or Transport Canada '0971. Yes, I have a 71 Super Beetle. So that's when it's brought in. I think that's my serial number right there. I'm not sure. But anyway, I will try to preserve that. So I'm going to try and preserve that and continue on some of this dismantling and grinding. But My hat's off to the wood metal workers out there. I'm more with wood, and that with wood you can always glue it back together. With metal you're welding and you're grinding. So hopefully this all turns out well. Thanks for watching.